good afternoon, or whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world. You join me on a very wet and blustery September in Cumbria. Well, welcome to session 2, beginners lesson session 2, and this is what we're going to do today. Let's just have a recap then of last week. We covered fitting a border around some data, and we can do that by going up to this icon here, clicking on the all borders, and it puts a border around it. And change the color of the cell by going up here. Okay, we can make it bold, and we can do a range of different stuff really to make the a bit more attractive. We can, in this cell, if we click in it, we know that it equals the sum, gives us our total. And as we said, we could use the plus one, so it equals C3 plus D3. The difficulty of that one though is if I was to add any more columns, it wouldn't automatically add them totals up. We know that if you go to the bottom right hand corner, if we press the fill handle or click the fill handle, now my left mouse click is selected, drag down, it will then copy them formulas down for me, which saves a great deal of time, which is great. Okay, if I go into cell C8, I could go to auto sum, and likewise it's selected, so this remind ourselves it's saying equals the sum, which is the total of C3, the range C3 to C7. Press enter, and likewise I can just left click and drag that across there. So that was just a recap. For numbers, if we wanted to autofill numbers, if we just put number 1 in here, go to the bottom right hand corner of the cell, hold the CTRL button down, left click, and then drag it down, and we can see that it will add the numbers for us there. If I put Monday in this cell, go to the bottom right hand corner, drag down, it will then automatically add the days in. I don't need to hold the CTRL key down for that. Likewise for September. It's up to you whether you press enter to get out of the cell and go back in, but you can just go straight down to the bottom right hand corner and then drag them down there for you. Likewise, you can do the dates, you can go horizontally as well if you want to. Here I've got the 16th of September. If I left click, move the dates along. Now, this is a time, one of these instances where you may want, because these take up a fair bit of space, you may want to change them into a vertical alignment. And how we do that is we just select the range of cells. We can either right click, or we can go up to here, and that will bring out the format box. We can go to alignment, and then we can change the text direction here so that it's vertical. Okay. We could, depending on what it is, we could put it in the bottom or the top or wherever we wanted to within it. And it also gives us an option to wrap the text as well, which is quite handy, but I'm just going to click OK. And we can see that it's automatically put them into vertical alignment. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to highlight the column, left click, drag that down, go in between the two columns, left click, and it will automatically re-width. Re-width, is that a word? It will resize these columns so that they are the automatic width of the text that's in them. So that's quite handy. So that really is just an overview of the recap from what we did last week. I'm going to move on to referencing now and look at relative referencing, because that's quite important, because when we look at relative referencing and then we look at absolute cell referencing. So here we've got a table and it's 14 males, 13 females. We know that if I've got my formula there. If I left click at the fill handle, drag down, what will happen is now the formula is replicated down. So if I click into cell E5, click the formula, I know that what's happened is if I select this cell, it's moved the other cell relative to it. So it's moved them down one, which is what you want really on this particular thing. So that's great. So here again, it's moved it down. It's moved one cell relative to the other cell, and that's relative referencing. And that's great until we get something like this, which may look a little bit complicated, but let's look at this. We've got, I'll just move this out of the way there. We've got months of the year, we've got cars sold, motorbikes sold, bicycles sold. And what we have got is we've got a unit price here for each particular item, and then the month there, and then what we've got is the gross sales. And how does that work then if we was to use relative referencing? Well, if we look at this, if I click into cell K10 and say that, well, that equals the number of cars sold there by the price of the cars, the unit price. Press enter, and you can see we've got this figure here. Now, if you are practicing with this Excel workbook, these numbers change. If I just click and I'll show you, I've said that these cells all generate a random number between 1 and 50, and it does that every time you hit the return button. So please don't think something wrong if your figures change. Now, if I wanted to replicate this cell down, look at this formula down, look what happens. I'll left click here, drag it down, and oh, look at this, what's happened here. Well, it's been using relative reference. If I just click into this cell K13 and then look at the formula, we can see that as the blue cell moves down, box cell, so we're now in C13, this cell also moves down. So this cell moves down relative to this cell. So as this cell has moved down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, this cell has moved down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And likewise with the rest of them. If we click on here, so that's 6, we can see that this one's moved down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This cell has moved down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can see that's not great. That's why we're giving a spurious reading. What we have to do is we have to make this cell, I'm just going to delete these now. We have to make H18 an absolute cell reference so it locks it into place. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to put a pound sign before the column reference and after the column reference. You can use the F4 key, that will work as well sometimes, but I'm just going there, and now I'm going to press enter, and watch what happens now when I autofill these down. You can see that it gets the right price. If we now go back to cell 4 or K13, we can see that although it's picked up month 4 there, it's still referenced H cell there. Okay, so that's really good, H18. Likewise with the rest of them. So it's not used relative cell referencing, it's used an absolute cell reference, which is really what we want. So let's just see how we can make this a little bit easier for ourselves. So we've got the formula for the cars. Now we need to get the formula for the motorbikes. Let's see what happens if I now scroll, if I now autofill horizontal. And you can see if I click into the motorbikes, it's picked up the column for the motorbikes, but then it's referenced the cell for the price for the cars, which is not what we want. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to left click that and then drag that formula down. And we can see now that it's D10 multiplied by H19. Likewise, bicycles is still, so I'm just going to move that down. And you'll notice that we've now got that information there. Likewise, I could do it differently if I didn't want to copy them across. I could just say equals motorbikes times motorbike price. I'm going to press F4 and watch what happens when I press F4. It automatically puts in the dollar signs for me there. Press enter, and now this one equals bicycles times the bicycle price. Again, press Fn and F4, and it's put them dollar signs in for me there. I'll press enter. Now I can autofill these values down. So just highlight the values, bottom right corner, right click, and drag them down there, and that makes it, that's easy for me. This is absolute cell referencing. So that's what we're going to look at next when we come to the exam results. So this is a set of exam results for maybe a test. So we can see results for set C for maybe a year group, and then we've got some marks. And now we need to work out the average marks, the minimum marks, and the maximum marks. So we know that I can just click into cell B23, go up to auto sum, average, and it's already selected this range for me. If I don't want to use this empty cell, I can just go to the bottom right hand corner. Oh, it's a bit tricky. There we go. There we go. This is trouble is a little bit tricky sometimes. There, left click and move it up and get rid of that, and then press enter. And now we need to be careful. Now if we put the minimum mark in, look at what it's done. All it's done is it's selected the one above it. So what I need to do is, rather than use the auto sum function, is to type equals min, open brackets, select the range, which is B4 to B21, close brackets, and press enter. For the maximum mark, type equals max, open brackets, parenthesis, and then select the range, close brackets, and press enter. And for those that did XLOOKUP last time, you could use XLOOKUP and find out actually which subject gave you that. So now we've done that, we've got to work out use the average mark to work out if a subject is above or below the average mark. So that's here. The mark minus the average mark. So we can see now that the average mark is 66, this is 55, this is 11 below, minus 11. Now, this is where we need to use an absolute cell reference, because if we don't, it won't work properly. So cell B23 as an average is the absolute cell, is a cell I want to lock. So I'm going to go back into that formula. In front of the B, I'm going to put a dollar sign, and then after the B, I'm going to put a dollar sign there. Press enter, and now I've made that an absolute cell reference. I can left click and I can scroll down, autofill, and we can see that it's filling in whether a subject is above or below the average mark. We can make that a little bit easier to understand. We'll put a border around it. Okay, conditional format to show those. Okay, a bit of spelling mistake there. Those above the average mark in green and those below the average mark in red. Well, to do that, we're going to look at select the average mark, plus or minus, and I'm going to go to conditional format here. And I'm going to highlight the cell rules. If it's greater than 0, and it's going to be green fill and dark text. Okay. Cell conditional format, cell rules is less than 0. It's going to be light red. Okay. And we can also make another one, highlight cell rules, is equal to 0. We're going to make that yellow. So what we've said is that this gives us a pictorial representation quite vividly of something that if it's below the average score, it will be in red, and if it's above the average score, it will be in green. There's lots of other things you can do with conditional formatting. You can look at the top cell rules. So for example, the top 10 items, and you can change the top 10 items. So if I wanted to, I could highlight these. I could make the top 10 items, and I could make it that it's the top 4 are in yellow, okay? Or the top 1 is in yellow. So that would tell me that the top course is information technology. So that's quite handy. So we've got lots of different conditional formatting on here. If I go to conditional formatting and we go to the manage the rules, we can see that there's a number of different rules selected. Well, there's not, because I'm not selected the cells actually. So if I go to, I have to select the cells first, then go to conditional formatting, manage rules, and we can see that we've got all these different rules. Oh, and also you can make a suitable chart for that. So if I wanted to, we could highlight the subjects there, press this control button, highlight them ones, go to insert, see what recommended charts it gives us for us, and I think that's quite good. We can use this one. I think that one's probably better actually, and I can put a chart in there that would then allow me to look at the plus and minus, the average, and see which subjects are doing well and which subjects are not doing well. So I need to be having a chat with these ones over here. Okay. Bookshop now. So this is ensure all our data is visible. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the rows, the column, sorry, go in the middle, left click, and we can see that it will auto size these. Done that. Look at the remaining amount. Well, the remaining amount, well, that equals the starting stock minus the number sold. We're going to copy that formula down. Okay. The income equals the number sold multiplied by the price. Press enter. And we're going to copy that down. And because these are in currency, I'm going to change these to currency. So I'm going to highlight themselves. I'm going to go up to the general tab, currency, and it changes it to 2 decimal places for me. That's good. I'm going to make this as a border around it. I'm going to give the header, the row header, make that bold, different color, good. Total income, I'm going to make bold. The total income, I'm going to use the auto sum function here, and you can see it's put that in for me. I'm just going to use that, and it's put that in the total for me then. I'm going to make that so that it's yellow and stands out. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select cell A1, go across to G1, and then click merge and center, and it's centered these books for me. I'm going to then make it a little bit bigger, make it bold, and then use a different font color. Okay, make the data more attractive. Highlight, use conditional format, highlight any remaining stick that is lower. That's terrible, remaining. However, this is a good chance for us to look at the spelling on here. If I go to review, click on spelling, it will then come here, formatting, we'll change that, remaining, change that, spell check, good to go. Okay, good. Well, remaining stock. Okay, so I'd like to say I put these in deliberately spelling errors, but I didn't. I was probably just rushing. Let's have a look now. Use conditional format, any remaining stock that is lower than 20. So remaining stocks, I'm going to highlight these cells here, go back to home, conditional format, highlight cell rules, less than 21, and it's going to be red. Okay. And we might as well say highlight greater than 20. We're going to make them green. Cool. So if we now changed one of these, if I'd say I'd sold 55 of them, we can see that that's now gone down to 20, which is what we wanted it to do. So that's really quite a good thing to be able to do. What we could do is, if we wanted to, we could sort by the income. So if I just go into income there, go over to the sort and filter, and then sort largest to smallest, it will then put the data into the largest to the smallest for me there. So we can see that the Demon Dentist has sold 64 books, got £703, and we've only got 11 stock left. So we need to do something about that. Worst book that we've not sold is I'm Not a Loser. So we might need to think about lowering the price of that. So that's one thing that you can do as well. All right, make the data more attractive. Exercise 1, work out the average mark for the results. Well, that's wrong there actually. I need to get rid of that because I've not sorted that out yet. But let's have a look and see what we need to do. So first of all, we need to make all the data visible. Good. Then we need to do the total income. Now, because we've only got these two rows, I can highlight them and then press Alt equals, and it will fill them in for me. And you will note I've got some hashtags here, and that's hashtags because the column width is not big enough, wide enough. So I'm just going to double click that column and it makes it wider there. Again here with the total expenses, all I've done is I've just taken the expenses, rent, holiday, leisure. This could be a monthly budget that you might have in your house for your wages coming in, and then what you got going out. So I've just selected the data and then highlighted the row there, total expenses empty, and the total there empty, and then just press Alt and equals, and it will automatically fill them in for me there. Now the savings, well, the savings equals the total income minus the total expenses. Press enter, and I've saved £5 in January. And I'm going to just replicate that formula across using the fill handle, and we can see that we've done that. And I need to make this column a bit wider. Now, because these are all currency, I'm just going to select all of them, all the data, go to currency, 2 decimal places, and it's put them with. So now I need to make this a little bit easier on the eye. So I'm going to select all the data. I'm going to put a border around it. I'm going to go house finances. I'm going to give that a different color. I'm going to make it bold, and I'll center align that. Okay. The total income, I'm going to make bold, and I'm going to give that a different color. The total expenses, I'm going to highlight that, make that bold, and give that a different color, as with the savings. Okay, and give that a different color. Okay, maybe give it that one. We can see I've got savings there, Arial 10 and Arial 9. I thought it looked different. Now, to get the font all the same on all the sheet, all you would need to do, you can either change it in the cell, or you can just left click in the corner and it selects all of it. And then I'm going to go select the font size 10, and it's changed all the font size to 10. Okay. So we've now done that, and I think hopefully you'll agree that it's made it a little bit more user friendly. I'm going to make that a different full color, yellow. Maybe it's my eyes, but it seems to have given that as a different filler. I'm not going to do any filling now. Okay. What we're going to do now is we're going to do a line graph, which might be worthwhile, a line chart of, you're better off using a line chart graph when you've got data sequentially over a period of time. So this is a perfect example when you can do that. So I'm going to house finances, go all the way across to December. I'm going to hold this control button down and then select the total income. I've still got my control button down, total expenses, and then the savings. And we can see now that I've got 4 individual bits of data highlighted. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a recommended chart, see what it comes up with. Well, all charts. I'm going to click, I don't think it suits it being a bar chart there. I'm going to go back to all charts and click on a line graph. And this is far better actually. So I'm going to click that one. Okay. And my graph, because it's here, I'm going to put it into a new chart on its own. I'm going to go to move chart. I want to put it on a new sheet. I'm going to make it a new sheet. It says chart 1. I'm going to click OK. And you can see that it's now gone to its own chart. So I'm going to rename that and I'm going to call it budget 2025. Okay. Now to move it, I'm just going to left click and move it to the right hand side of the house. So I've got the house there and then I've got my budget there and you can see. So I'm going to change the title. Click into, I've selected the title. I'm going to click there. I'm going to say budget spending and saving. And saving 2025. Okay, and press enter. I'm going to get my axis label on, so I'm going to look at chart design, go to add chart element, vertical, primary vertical, and I'm going to say that that is the money. Press enter. And we can see now that what we've got by using a line graph is we've got a pictorial representation that in August, really, I didn't save any money. In fact, I went well over budget. I spent more than I actually got on income. So that's something, if you're looking at something like this over, you can look for trends, which is very helpful. So hopefully you found that useful. I'm now going to edit it and then get ready for tomorrow's and Wednesday's lesson. Thank you.